The day begins very slowly in a small medieval village in England, long before anyone feels fully awake. There are no clocks to check, no bells ringing sharply, and no sudden sounds to announce the morning. Instead, the night gently loosens its hold as a pale gray light begins to spread across the sky, touching fields, cottages, and narrow dirt paths without hurry. Thatched roofs sit quietly beneath the fatting darkness, their straw edges damp with morning dew. Wooden houses stand close together, built from timber and clay, shaped by necessity rather than design. These homes have seen many mornings like this one, and they expect nothing different today. Inside a small cottage, a man opens his eyes slowly. He lies on a straw mattress, covered by a rough wool blanket that has kept him warm through the night. The air inside the room is cool and carries the faint smell of smoke from the fire that burned the evening before. For a moment, he remains still, listening. Outside, the village is beginning to wake in its own quiet way. A distant rooster calls once, then falls silent. Somewhere nearby, a cow shifts its weight in a stall, the sound dull and familiar. Wind moves softly along the cottage walls, brushing past wooden beams that have stood here for years. There is no sense of urgency. The day has arrived, but it makes no demands. The man sits up slowly, stretching stiff arms and legs, placing his feet carefully on the cold earthen floor. Nearby, his wife also stirs, pulling a shawl around her shoulders before standing to tend the hearth. She kneels near the fire pit, adding a few pieces of wood to the ashes. With a gentle breath, she encourages a small flame to return. The fire responds slowly, glowing orange and filling the room with a soft, steady light. This fire will warm the home, heat food, and provide comfort throughout the morning. Outside, mist lies low over the surrounding fields, hovering just above the ground. It moves slowly, almost lazily, drifting between fence posts and hedges. The narrow paths between homes remain empty, darkened by moisture from the night. The ground reflects the faint morning light without shine. A single dog wanders briefly through the village, sniffing the cool air before settling again near a doorway. In one cottage, a child shifts in sleep, wrapped tightly in wool, unaware that the day has already begun. In another home, an elderly man sits awake, his body accustomed to rising early, his thoughts calm and steady. He watches the light change through a small window, listening to the sounds he has known all his life. There is comfort in this repetition, in knowing exactly how the morning will unfold. Nothing unexpected waits here. As the sky continues to brighten, thin lines of smoke rise from chimneys one by one. Each plume marks a household waking, each fire burning in the same familiar way. The village appears almost unchanged from day to day, shaped more by seasons than by years. The fields surrounding the homes lie still, their soil dark and heavy, waiting patiently. Rough wooden fences trace their edges, some leaning with age, others freshly repaired. Birds begin to call softly, their sounds gentle and unhurried, filling the quiet air without disturbing it. A woman steps outside her cottage carrying a wooden bucket. She walks slowly toward the well, pulling her cloak close against the chill. The rope creaks softly as she lowers the bucket, the sound echoing briefly before fatting. When she lifts it back up, water spills slightly onto the ground, darkening the earth beneath her feet. She pauses for a moment, looking toward the fields as the mist begins to thin. There is no reason to hurry. The day stretches long ahead, and it will unfold as it always does. Nearby, a farmer opens the door to a small barn. The smell of hay and animals fills the air. Cows shift slowly inside, used to this routine, calm and heavy. He moves among them quietly, speaking in a low voice, not expecting a response. Animals here are part of daily life, not companions, but partners in survival. Their presence is steady and familiar, just like the land itself. As the sun rises higher, light spills gently across the village. Rooftops glow softly. Paths become more visible. The mist lifts and disappears without notice. There is no bell to mark the moment, yet everyone knows that morning has fully arrived. People begin to step outside more openly now, greeting one another with quiet nods. There are no loud voices, No long conversations, only simple acknowledgement. Everyone belongs here, and everyone understands the rhythm of the day. A child runs briefly across a path, then slows, taught early not to waste energy. Energy is valued, saved for when it is truly needed. Nearby, a man sharpens a simple tool outside his home, the sound of stone against metal steady and calm. Bread bakes quietly in an oven, its warm smell drifting into the air, mixing with smoke and damp earth. It promises nourishment later, nothing more. There is no sense of beauty being created here, yet everything feels balanced. This is not a special morning. It is an ordinary one, and that is what makes it peaceful. As the sun continues its slow climb, shadows stretch and shift across the ground. The village settles fully into its day, calm, predictable, and deeply quiet. A perfect beginning to a long and ordinary day in medieval England. As the day moves toward midday in the medieval English village, the pace of life becomes even slower, not because anyone decides to slow down, but because the body naturally begins to rest. The sun now sits higher in the sky, spreading a soft and steady warmth across the fields, cottages, and narrow paths, and this gentle heat encourages quieter movement and calmer thoughts. Work does not stop, but it softens. Farmers in the fields pause more often, standing still for a moment, resting their hands on simple tools, and looking quietly across the land they know so well. The soil lies dark and heavy beneath their feet, the young crops barely moving in the light breeze, and there is no feeling of urgency, only the calm understanding that the work will continue when the body is ready. Tools are set down carefully, never dropped, never forgotten. Wooden handles lean against fences, iron heads rest on the ground, cooling slowly in the open air. These tools have been used many times before, and they will be used again. There is no need to rush. Inside the village, thin lines of smoke rise steadily from cottage chimneys, signaling that midday meals are being prepared. Cooking at this hour is simple and familiar, guided by habit rather than choice. Bread that was baked earlier is sliced slowly, vegetables are placed into pots, and water is warmed gently over low flames. There is no loud sound, only the quiet movement of food being prepared with care. Inside one small cottage, a woman stirs a pot slowly, watching the surface change as it warms. Her movements are unhurried and practiced, shaped by years of repetition. She does not think about time, she thinks about the food, about its smell, its texture, and how it will satisfy hunger. Nearby, children sit quietly, their earlier energy faded, their voices low, waiting patiently without complaint. In another home, an older man rests on a wooden bench near the doorway, his hands folded loosely, his eyes half closed. He is not sleeping deeply, but he is not fully awake either. This quiet resting state is normal here, a natural part of the day that allows the body to recover without fully stopping. Outside, animals also slow their movement. Sheep lie down in patches of shade, cows stand quietly, shifting their weight only occasionally, and chickens find calm places near walls or fences where they can rest. Even the insects seem to move more gently, their sounds blending softly into the background. The village feels suspended during this time, as if the entire place has agreed to pause together. There is no signal marking this moment, no bell, no announcement, yet everyone understands it. Midday is a time of balance, where effort gives way briefly to rest. When the meal is ready, people gather quietly, often eating where they stand or sitting on low stools near the door. Food is shared without ceremony, without excitement, simply because it is time to eat. Each bite is taken slowly, chewed carefully, and appreciated for the effort that brought it to the table. Conversation during the meal is minimal. A few words are exchanged, usually about the weather or the condition of the fields, but silence is common and comfortable. No one feels the need to fill the quiet. The sounds of eating, the scrape of wood against wood, the soft movement of hands, become part of the calm rhythm. After eating, there is no sudden return to work. Some people remain seated, leaning back slightly, allowing the warmth of the meal to settle. Others step outside and stand in the sunlight, breathing slowly, letting their thoughts drift without direction. This midday pause is not planned or discussed. It exists because the body needs it, and the village respects that need. Rest is not seen as laziness here, but as part of survival, just as important as work itself. In the shade of a tree near the edge of the village, a man leans back against the trunk, closing his eyes. He listens to the gentle sounds around him, leaves moving softly in the breeze, distant insects humming, the quiet presence of life continuing without effort. His breathing slows, his thoughts soften, and for a few moments nothing else matters. Inside cottages, windows are opened slightly, allowing fresh air to move through the rooms. Light enters gently, bright enough to see but never harsh. Dust floats briefly in the air before settling again, undisturbed. Some people nap lightly during this time, not deeply, just enough to rest the mind and body. Others simply sit, hands resting in their laps, eyes unfocused, allowing thoughts to come and go without holding on to them. There is no guilt attached to this rest. No one feels behind. No one feels unproductive. The day is long, and there will be time later to continue working. As the sun continues its slow path across the sky, shadows shorten and shift almost unnoticed. The warmth remains steady, and the village stays calm. Nothing dramatic happens. Nothing changes suddenly. This quiet middle part of the day helps shape the evening that will come later. Because the body has rested, the work that follows will feel manageable, not exhausting. The night will arrive naturally, welcomed rather than resisted. And so, in this peaceful midday calm, the medieval village breathes together, resting without worry, allowing time to pass slowly, gently, and without effort. As the morning settles fully over the medieval village, daily life begins to move forward in a quiet and familiar way. There is no sudden change, no clear starting point, only a gentle shift from rest into work. People step into their tasks as naturally as they step into daylight, guided by habit rather than instruction. Men and women move slowly through the village, collecting the simple tools they will use for the day. Wooden handles are smooth from years of use, iron edges worn but trusted. These tools are not replaced often. They are cared for, repaired, and passed down. Each one carries the memory of many ordinary mornings just like this. In the fields beyond the cottages, farmers begin their work while the air is still cool. Their footsteps press softly into the damp soil, leaving shallow marks that will soon disappear. The land stretches wide and open, divided into narrow strips, each one belonging to a family that knows it well. Hands move steadily, pulling weeds, checking plants, and turning soil with slow, practiced motions. There is no rush to finish. The work will take as long as it takes, and no one expects otherwise. The sun will guide the pace, rising higher as the morning continues, warming backs and shoulders gradually. Inside the village, women tend to household tasks that repeat every day without change. Floors are swept carefully, dust rising briefly before settling again. Clothes are mended where needed, small tears stitched patiently. Fabric is valuable, and nothing is thrown away without reason. Near the well, villagers arrive one by one to draw water. Buckets are lowered slowly, ropes creaking softly as they move. A few quiet words may be exchanged, but often there is no conversation at all. Everyone already knows how the day will unfold, and there is comfort in that certainty. Children help where they can, carrying small bundles of wood, holding tools, or feeding animals. They are not expected to work quickly or perfectly. Learning happens slowly here, through watching and repeating, day after day. Animals move calmly among the people. Chickens wander freely, stopping often to peck at the ground. Sheep graze without concern, their movement slow and steady. These animals are part of the village rhythm, as familiar as the paths and fences. Inside cottages, the sound of cooking begins quietly. Pots are placed over low fires, water warming slowly. Bread dough prepared earlier is shaped and set aside. There are no recipes written down, only memory and experience guiding each step. Smoke rises gently from chimneys, thin and pale against the brightening sky. From a distance, the village looks almost unchanged, the same scene repeating itself day after day. This repetition does not feel dull to those who live here. It feels safe. As the morning continues, work remains steady and unbroken. No one suddenly stops, and no one suddenly speeds up. Bodies move at a pace that feels right, conserving energy for the long day ahead. There are no clocks to watch, no schedules to follow. The position of the sun is enough. When it climbs higher, people know it is time to continue. When it begins to lower later in the day, they will know when to slow again. Thoughts during this work are simple and calm. There is little room for worry or distraction. Hands stay busy, and the mind follows along quietly. The same movements repeated over time bring a sense of peace. The village hums softly with life, but never loudly. Sounds remain gentle, footsteps on dirt, tools touching soil, the low calls of animals. Nothing breaks the calm. This is how morning work unfolds in a medieval English village, steady, predictable, and unchanging. There is no excitement here, no story worth recording, only ordinary life continuing exactly as it always has. And in this quiet routine, the village settles comfortably into the rest of the day, moving forward without hurry, guided by daylight, habit, and the calm certainty of familiar work. As the day moves closer to midday, the medieval village does not become louder or busier. Instead, it begins to soften. The sun now sits higher in the sky, spreading a steady warmth across the fields and cottages, and this gentle heat naturally slows the body. Work continues, but it becomes less demanding, guided more by rhythm than effort. In the fields, farmers pause more often, standing quietly with their hands resting on tools, looking across land they have known all their lives. The soil lies open and dark beneath the sun, and the crops move only slightly in the light breeze. There is no pressure to hurry, because everyone understands that the work of the day will be finished in time, just as it always is. Tools are set down carefully when rest is needed. Wooden handles lean against fence posts, iron blades rest on the ground, warming slowly in the sunlight. Nothing is dropped or forgotten. Each tool is valued, not because it is rare, but because it is familiar and dependable. Inside the village, cooking becomes the quiet focus of the midday hours. Thin smoke rises from chimneys as simple meals are prepared. Bread baked earlier in the day is broken into pieces, vegetables are added to pots, and water is warmed gently over low fires. There are no strong smells or sharp sounds, only the steady presence of food being prepared with patience. Inside a small cottage, a woman stirs a pot slowly, watching the surface change as it warms. Her movements are unhurried and calm, shaped by years of repetition. She does not measure time, she measures readiness, listening to the sound of the pot and watching the steam rise and fade. Nearby, children sit quietly, their earlier energy already gone. They wait without complaint, accustomed to these quiet hours. There is nothing to distract them, no toys to demand attention, only the soft presence of the home around them. In another house, an older villager rests on a wooden bench near the doorway, his hands folded loosely, his eyes half closed. He is not sleeping deeply, but he is not fully awake either. This gentle rest is common and accepted, a way of letting the body recover without fully stopping the day. Outside, animals slow their movement as well. Sheep lie down in the shade of low fences, cows stand quietly near barns, shifting their weight only occasionally. Chickens find calm spots near walls, settling into stillness. Even insects seem less active, their sounds blending softly into the background. The village feels suspended during this time, as if everyone has quietly agreed to pause together. There is no signal that marks this moment, yet it is understood by all. Midday is a time of balance, when effort gives way briefly to rest. When food is ready, people gather without ceremony. They eat slowly, often standing or sitting near doorways where fresh air moves gently through. Each bite is taken without rush, appreciated for the work it represents. Conversation is minimal, often unnecessary, and silence feels comfortable rather than awkward. The sounds of eating are soft and steady, the tear of bread, the scrape of wood against wood, the quiet movement of hands. These small sounds blend together, forming a gentle rhythm that supports calm rather than breaking it. After the meal, there is no sudden return to work. Some villagers remain seated, leaning back slightly, allowing the warmth of food to settle. Others step outside and stand in the sunlight, breathing slowly, their thoughts drifting without direction. This pause is not planned or discussed. It exists because the body needs it, and the village respects that need. Rest here is not considered laziness, but part of survival, just as important as work itself. Near the edge of the village, a man leans back against the trunk of a tree, closing his eyes. He listens to the quiet sounds around him, leaves moving gently in the breeze, distant insects humming softly. His breathing slows, his thoughts soften, and for a few moments nothing else matters. Inside cottages, windows are opened slightly, allowing fresh air to move through the rooms. Light enters gently, bright enough to see but never harsh. Dust floats briefly in the air before settling again, undisturbed. Some villagers nap lightly during this time, not deeply, just enough to rest the mind and body. Others sit quietly, hands resting in their laps, eyes unfocused, allowing thoughts to come and go without holding on to them. There is no guilt attached to this rest. No one feels behind. No one worries about productivity. The day is long, and there will be time later to continue working. As the sun continues its slow path across the sky, shadows shorten and shift almost unnoticed. The warmth remains steady, and the village stays calm. Nothing dramatic happens, and nothing is expected to happen. This quiet middle part of the day shapes the rest of life here. Because the body has rested, the work that follows will feel manageable rather than exhausting. Evening will arrive naturally, welcomed instead of resisted. And so, in this peaceful midday calm, the medieval village breathes together, resting without worry, allowing time to pass slowly and gently, exactly as it always has. As the afternoon begins to fade, the village slowly shifts once again. The sun moves lower in the sky, and its light softens, stretching longer shadows across the fields and paths. This change is felt immediately, not because anyone checks the sky carefully, but because bodies recognize the quiet signal that the day is turning. Work continues, but it becomes gentler. Farmers finish the most demanding tasks first, saving lighter work for the later hours. Tools move more slowly now, hands feeling the weight of the day without resistance. There is no rush to complete everything. What cannot be finished today will wait until tomorrow. In the fields, people begin to gather their tools, brushing soil from wooden handles and wiping iron edges clean. Nothing is left behind. Each item is carried back carefully, as familiar as the path beneath their feet. The land grows quieter as fewer people remain among the crops. Inside the village, households prepare for the return home. Fires are tended once more, and small evening meals are planned. Cooking remains simple and predictable, guided by habit rather than hunger. Pots are placed gently over low flames, and food warms slowly without sound. Children drift back toward their homes, their steps unhurried. The energy of the morning and midday has faded, replaced by a calm tiredness. They speak less now, content to follow familiar routines without question. Animals also respond to the lowering sun. Sheep are guided toward pens, cows are led back to barns, and chickens move toward roosts as if guided by instinct. These movements are slow and steady, repeated every evening without change. Paths between cottages grow quieter. Fewer people remain outside, and those who do move calmly, finishing small tasks before night arrives. Doors are opened and closed softly. Wooden latches are checked without hurry. Inside homes, the evening feels different from the morning. Light from the sun enters at a lower angle, casting warm tones across wooden walls and floors. Dust settles undisturbed. Shadows grow longer but never feel threatening. People sit more often now, resting tired legs and backs. Conversation, if it happens at all, is quiet and brief. There is little need to speak. The day has unfolded as expected, and nothing more is required of it. As the sun continues its slow descent, the village becomes still again. Work fades naturally, replaced by rest. No one announces the end of the day. It simply arrives. This transition from effort to rest happens smoothly, guided by light and habit. The body prepares itself for the quiet evening ahead without resistance. And as the last tasks are completed and people settle back into their homes, the village moves gently toward night, carrying the calm of the day with it, ready to rest once more. As evening settles over the village, the light continues to soften, and the world grows quieter without effort. The sun lowers behind distant trees and hills, and its warmth fades gently, leaving the air cool and calm. This change is not announced, it is simply felt, and everyone adjusts naturally. Inside cottages, simple evening meals are prepared. Fires are kept low and steady, not bright or strong. Pots are placed carefully above the embers and food warms slowly. Supper is never elaborate. Bread, vegetables, and whatever remains from earlier meals are enough. Hunger is quiet now, softened by the long day. People gather near the hearth, sitting close together for warmth and comfort. The glow of the fire casts gentle light across wooden walls and familiar faces. Shadows move slowly, stretching and shrinking as flames shift. No one pays them much attention. Conversation, if it happens at all, is calm and brief. Words are spoken softly, often about small matters, the condition of the fields, the weather, or nothing at all. Silence feels natural here, filling the room without discomfort. Children eat quietly, their movements slow, their eyes heavy. The energy of the day has left them, replaced by a peaceful tiredness. They listen more than they speak, content to remain close. After eating, dishes are cleared without hurry. Bowls are rinsed, utensils set aside, and the hearth is adjusted for the night. Nothing is rushed. The evening stretches comfortably ahead. Outside, the village darkens gradually. The sky turns deeper shades of blue and gray, and the last light lingers at the horizon before fading. Paths between cottages become harder to see, and movement outside slows almost to nothing. Animals settle for the night. Barn doors are secured. Chickens are quiet on their roosts. Sheep lie still in their pens. The sounds of the village soften further, blending into the growing darkness. Inside homes, candles or small oil lamps are lit briefly. Their light is warm but limited, used carefully and thoughtfully. People move closer together, staying within the small circle of light. Corners of rooms disappear into shadow. This light is not meant to extend the day, only to ease the transition into night. Tasks that require seeing clearly are finished. What remains can wait until morning. As the hours pass, voices grow quieter, movements slow. The fire burns lower. The room feels smaller and more intimate, protected from the darkness outside. People begin to prepare for sleep without ceremony. Cloaks and outer garments are set aside. Beds are readied. Blankets are adjusted. These actions are familiar and unremarkable. There is no feeling of loss as night arrives. Darkness is expected. It brings rest rather than worry. The day has been full enough. Outside, the village rests under the night sky. Stars appear quietly. Moonlight, if present, touches rooftops and fields with a soft glow. Everything feels settled. Inside, the last candle is blown out, and darkness fills the room completely. Breathing slows, bodies relax, the quiet deepens. And as night fully takes hold, the medieval village enters its familiar rest, guided gently by darkness, warmth, and the calm certainty that morning will come in its own time. As the night deepens, the village settles into complete stillness. There is no sudden change, no sharp moment when sleep begins, only a gradual softening of the world. Inside cottages, bodies rest quietly, guided by darkness and the steady rhythm of breathing. The day has ended fully, and nothing remains to be done. Beds are simple and familiar. Straw mattresses rest on wooden frames, covered with heavy wool blankets that hold warmth through the cool night air. People lie close together, sharing heat and comfort, listening to the quiet sounds of the house. There is no concern for privacy, only the reassurance of presence. Darkness inside the room is complete. Without candles or lamps, shapes disappear, and the mind stops searching for detail. Eyes close easily. Muscles relax without effort. Sleep arrives gently, carried by exhaustion earned through steady work rather than stress. Breathing slows naturally. Each breath feels deeper than the last. The body sinks into rest, supported by the quiet certainty that nothing will disturb the night. There are no sudden noises, no artificial sounds, only the faint creaking of wood as the house responds to the cooling air. Outside, the village remains motionless. Paths are empty, doors are closed and secured. Fields stretch silently beneath the stars, untouched until morning. If wind moves through the trees, it does so softly, never sharp enough to wake sleeping minds. Animals rest as well. Horses stand quietly in their stalls. Cows lie still. Chickens remain silent on their roosts. The presence of life continues, but without movement or sound that demands attention. Some villagers experience brief waking during the night, not from worry, but from habit. Eyes open slowly in the darkness, thoughts drift quietly, then fade again. There is no fear of wakefulness, no pressure to sleep immediately. Rest continues in its own way. These waking moments are calm and unremarkable. People lie still, listening to the quiet, feeling the weight of blankets and trusting sleep to return when it is ready. And it does, gently and without effort. Hours pass unnoticed. Time is not measured here. The night does not feel long or short. It simply exists. Darkness holds everything evenly without judgment or urgency. Dreams, when they come, are slow and soft. Images drift without sharp edges. The mind remains calm, protected from sudden change. Sleep deepens naturally. Outside, the moon moves slowly across the sky. Stars remain steady. The world continues quietly, unseen and undisturbed. Inside the cottages, bodies remain still. Breathing stays slow. The fire has burned down completely, leaving only cool embers. Warmth remains trapped beneath blankets. The night holds the village gently, allowing rest to continue without interruption. Nothing calls for attention. Nothing breaks the calm. And so the medieval village sleeps through the long night, wrapped in darkness, silence, and the steady comfort of routine, waiting peacefully for morning to return. As the night continues, it grows deeper and calmer, settling into its most peaceful hours. The village remains asleep, held gently by darkness and silence. These are the hours when nothing changes, when time seems to pause and the world feels completely still. Inside cottages, breathing remains slow and steady. Bodies rest without movement, wrapped in heavy blankets that trap warmth through the cool air. There is no light anywhere inside, no flicker of flame, only complete darkness that allows the mind to stay quiet. The houses themselves seem to sleep. Wooden beams cool slowly as the night air settles. Floors and walls remain still, making only the faintest sounds as temperatures change. These sounds are familiar and comforting, never sharp enough to disturb rest. Outside, the village paths are empty and unseen. Fields stretch quietly beneath the stars, unchanged since the evening before. Fences cast no shadows now. Everything blends into a single calm darkness. The sky above is wide and steady. Stars remain fixed in their places, and the moon, if present, moves so slowly it feels almost motionless. There is no sense of urgency, no reminder of the coming day. Animals rest deeply as well. Barns are quiet. Pens remain still. The presence of life is felt rather than heard, steady and calm. For a brief moment, someone may stir in their sleep, shifting position, pulling a blanket closer, then settling again. These movements are small and gentle, part of the natural rhythm of rest. Thoughts, if they appear at all, are slow and distant. The mind does not hold on to them. Sleep remains deep, unbroken by worry or expectation. These hours before dawn are the most silent. Even the wind often rests. The world feels held in place, waiting patiently. Time passes unnoticed. There is no awareness of minutes or hours. The night exists as a single, quiet space, uninterrupted and complete. Slowly, without announcement, the deepest part of night begins to loosen. Darkness remains, but it softens slightly. The village does not wake yet, but something changes quietly in the air. This is the moment just before morning, when rest is deepest and the world is most calm. Everything remains still, supported by silence. And as these quiet hours pass gently, The medieval village continues to sleep, untouched and peaceful, resting fully before the return of light. As the quiet hours of night slowly fade, the village remains asleep, unaware of the subtle changes beginning to take place. Darkness still holds the land, but it no longer feels as heavy. The air shifts gently, carrying the first signs that morning is approaching, though nothing stirs yet. Inside cottages, breathing stays slow and even. Bodies remain relaxed, wrapped in warmth, resting deeply. Sleep continues without effort. There is no sound to interrupt it, no signal strong enough to call anyone awake. Outside, the sky begins to soften at its edges. The deep black above the village slowly turns to dark blue, almost unnoticed. Stars remain visible, steady and calm, while the horizon lightens just enough to suggest change. The fields remain still. Grass and soil lie untouched. Fences stand quietly, their shapes barely visible in the dim light. Paths between cottages are empty, waiting for footsteps that will come later. Animals continue to rest. No movement comes from barns or pens. Everything remains settled, as if the village is holding its breath, not in tension, but in calm anticipation. Inside one home, a person shifts slightly in sleep, turning toward the faint coolness of the morning air. The movement is gentle and brief. Rest continues uninterrupted. The houses themselves begin to warm slowly as the air changes. Wooden walls respond quietly, settling into the new temperature without sound. Floors remain still beneath resting bodies. Thoughts remain distant and unfocused. Dreams, if present, drift softly without sharp images or emotion. Sleep remains deep and steady. As time passes, the sky continues its gradual transformation. The darkness thins evenly, without sudden brightness. There is no clear moment when night ends and morning begins. The change happens slowly, patiently. The village stays silent. No doors open. No fires are stirred. The world waits. This gentle return of light does not rush anyone awake. It simply prepares the way, easing the transition from night into day. And as the medieval village rests through these final moments before morning, everything remains calm, balanced, and quiet, ready for the day to begin again in its own time. As the light continues to grow, the medieval village begins to return slowly to awareness. The change is quiet and unforced, guided only by the steady presence of morning. Inside cottages, bodies remain still for a while longer, enjoying the last moments of rest before the day begins again. Breathing shifts gently as sleep loosens its hold. Eyes open briefly, then close again, not from resistance but from comfort. There is no need to hurry. Morning will wait. The air inside the homes feels cooler now, freshened by the night, and this coolness slowly invites movement. In one cottage, a person turns carefully, stretching stiff arms and legs beneath heavy blankets. The movement is slow and deliberate, guided by feeling rather than thought. Muscles awaken gradually, without strain. The body remembers the work of the previous day, but it does not feel burdened by it. Nearby, another sleeper sits up slightly, resting for a moment before standing. The floor beneath bare feet is cool and firm. This sensation is familiar, grounding, and expected. There is no discomfort in it, only recognition. The hearth, dark and cold, waits quietly. Ashes remain from the fire that burned the night before. A few pieces of wood are placed carefully, and with a gentle breath, a small flame returns. Light grows slowly, filling the room with a soft orange glow that does not chase away the calm. Outside, the village remains quiet, but signs of life begin to appear. A door opens softly. Footsteps touch the ground without sound. Someone steps into the morning air, pausing to breathe deeply and look across the land. Mist lingers low over the fields, thinning as the light grows stronger. The sky holds a pale color, neither night nor full day. Birds begin to stir, their calls gentle and spaced apart, never sudden or loud. Animals sense the change as well. A cow shifts in its stall. A chicken moves quietly on its roost. These movements are small, but they signal the steady return of life. Inside homes, blankets are folded slowly. Beds are straightened without care for perfection. Clothing is gathered and worn in familiar layers, chosen for warmth rather than style. There is no conversation yet. Voices remain soft or silent. The village eases itself into the day without discussion or plan. Fires burn a little stronger now, enough to warm hands and heat simple food. Water is fetched again from the well. Buckets move quietly, ropes creaking gently in the still air. The day begins again not with excitement, but with calm certainty. Nothing new is expected. Nothing unexpected is feared. This gentle return to waking mirrors the day before and the many days before that. Life resumes exactly where it left off, steady and unchanging. And as the medieval village fully greets the morning once more, it does so slowly, peacefully, and without effort, continuing its quiet rhythm, ready to repeat the familiar cycle of the day ahead. As the day continues beyond its gentle beginning, the medieval village moves forward without change, carrying the calm of morning into familiar routines. There is no sense of novelty or excitement, only the steady comfort of knowing what comes next. Work resumes at an easy pace, guided by daylight and habit, and the village remains quiet and balanced. People move through their tasks with relaxed focus. Hands work without strain. Thoughts remain simple and unhurried. There is no pressure to achieve anything beyond what is needed. The land provides direction, and the body follows along naturally. Voices remain soft throughout the village. Conversations, when they happen, are brief and practical. Silence fills the spaces between words without discomfort. The rhythm of life stays smooth and predictable, easing the mind as much as the body. As hours pass, the village does not feel older or tired, it feels complete. Each small action adds to the sense that the day is unfolding exactly as it should. Nothing interrupts this flow. Nothing pulls attention away. Inside homes, light shifts gradually as the sun moves across the sky. Shadows change position on walls and floors, marking time without counting it. The air remains calm. The scent of earth, wood, and smoke stays familiar. People feel grounded here. There is little room for worry about tomorrow or regret about yesterday. Life exists fully in the present moment, shaped by repetition and trust in routine. The village holds this calm throughout the day, allowing it to settle quietly into memory. By the time evening returns once more, everything will feel familiar again, just as it always does. And as the day gently becomes another ordinary memory, the medieval village continues its steady existence, unchanged, peaceful, and ready to rest once more when night arrives. As the medieval village continues through another familiar day, nothing feels new, and nothing feels missing. Life here is not shaped by big moments or sudden changes, but by repetition that brings comfort. Each hour blends gently into the next, creating a steady flow that carries everyone forward without effort. People move through their surroundings with quiet confidence. Paths are walked without thought, doors are opened and closed by memory, and tools are picked up with hands that already know their weight. There is no need to pause and decide what comes next, because the pattern of life has been learned deeply over many years. The village itself feels settled, as if it is resting inside its own routine. Houses stand quietly, unchanged by passing seasons. Fields stretch outward, patient and dependable. Fences lean slightly but hold their place. Nothing demands attention and nothing feels out of balance. Inside homes, the air carries familiar scents of wood, earth, and smoke. These smells do not surprise or distract. They are simply part of being here. People breathe them in without noticing, just as they breathe the air itself. Work continues, but it does not feel heavy. Tasks are done steadily, without pressure to finish quickly. There is no reward waiting at the end, only the quiet satisfaction of completion. Hands move, pause, and move again, guided by experience rather than thought. The body feels tired, but not strained. Muscles work within limits they understand. Rest comes naturally when needed, and work resumes just as life continues in the medieval village. The passing of time feels different from anything we know today. Days do not rush forward, and they do not feel short. Instead, time stretches gently, unfolding at a pace that feels natural and unforced. There is no sense of counting days or marking progress. Each moment simply arrives and then quietly moves on. People here do not think of time as something to manage. There are no plans written down, no lists waiting to be completed. Life is lived one action at a time, guided by light, weather, and the steady needs of the body. This creates a feeling that time is wide and open, rather than limited. The village exists inside this slow rhythm. Mornings resemble other mornings. Afternoons feel familiar. Evenings arrive as expected. There is comfort in this sameness because it removes uncertainty. Nothing sudden waits ahead, and nothing important has been forgotten. Inside homes, people sit quietly during moments when there is nothing to do. These moments are not filled with distraction. There is no effort to escape boredom. Boredom itself feels calm here, like still water. The mind rests inside it rather than fighting against it. Thoughts move slowly, often repeating the same gentle patterns. There is no pressure to think creatively or solve problems constantly. The mind is allowed to drift, to remain soft, to settle wherever it chooses. The body responds to this slower sense of time as well. Breathing remains steady. Movements stay relaxed. Even tiredness feels gentle rather than heavy. Rest arrives before exhaustion ever fully forms. Outside, the land reflects this same feeling. Fields do not hurry to grow. Crops rise slowly, shaped by seasons rather than schedules. Trees stand patiently, unchanged by passing years. The landscape teaches everyone that waiting is natural. Paths through the village are walked the same way every day. Feet follow familiar routes without thought. These paths feel worn not just by use, but by memory. Each step reinforces the sense that life moves in cycles rather than lines. Children experience time differently here as well. Days feel long, but not overwhelming. There is no sense of being pulled forward too quickly. Growing happens slowly, naturally, without pressure to reach the next stage. Elders feel time as something that continues beyond them. They do not measure how much remains. Instead, they live within the moment they are given, trusting the rhythm that has carried them this far. There is no anxiety about wasting time. Time is not something that can be lost. It simply flows, and people move within it. As the day progresses, no one feels surprised by how quickly or slowly it passes. The sun's movement provides all the guidance needed. When shadows lengthen, the body knows to slow. When darkness arrives, rest feels right. Inside cottages, people sometimes sit without speaking for long stretches. Silence does not feel empty. It feels full of presence. Thoughts come and go without needing attention. This relationship with time allows the village to remain calm even during difficult moments. Hard days still follow the same rhythm. Sadness does not disrupt the flow of life. Joy does not speed it up. Everything is absorbed gently into the same steady pattern. The absence of constant change creates emotional stability. People are rarely overwhelmed. They are rarely bored in a way that feels uncomfortable. The mind remains grounded. As evening approaches once again, there is no feeling that the day was too short or too long. It was simply enough. Enough work, enough rest, enough quiet. Night arrives not as an ending, but as a continuation. Darkness brings the same calm that daylight held. Time continues, but without pressure. People prepare for sleep with the same relaxed certainty. There is no desire to stay awake longer, no fear of missing anything. Tomorrow will resemble today, and that brings reassurance. The night holds the village gently, just as the day did. Hours pass without notice. Time exists, but it does not demand attention. And as another ordinary day fades quietly into memory, the medieval village remains steady and unchanged, resting comfortably inside a world where time feels endless, gentle, and kind, moving forward without hurry, without noise, and without expectation. As another evening settles over the medieval village, a quiet sense of safety returns, the kind that comes not from locks or guards, but from familiarity. Night here is not feared. It is known. It arrives the same way each day, gently and without surprise, bringing with it a feeling of enclosure and rest. The light fades slowly, and with it the edges of the world soften. Fields lose their detail first, then paths, then the far outlines of trees. What remains visible feels close and manageable. The village draws inward, becoming smaller, calmer, and easier to hold in the mind. Inside homes, people move with confidence born from routine. Hands reach for the same objects they always do. Fires are adjusted just enough to hold warmth through the night. Doors are closed carefully, not in alarm, but in habit. Each action feels reassuring because it has been repeated countless times before. The walls of the cottages feel protective. Thick timber and clay hold the warmth inside and keep the night outside. These walls have stood through many seasons, and they are trusted. People feel no need to question their safety. They sit, eat, and rest without scanning the darkness beyond. Voices grow softer as evening deepens. Conversations slow and then fade, not because there is nothing to say, but because silence feels better suited to this time. Words are no longer needed. Presence is enough. Children settle easily. Their bodies recognize the rhythm of the day and release into rest without resistance. They do not fight sleep. Sleep has always come at this hour, and it always will. Blankets are pulled close, and breathing evens out quickly. Adults feel the same pull toward stillness. Muscles loosen as the firelight dims. Thoughts drift toward simple reflections, then dissolve. The day does not demand review. It has passed as expected. Outside, the village rests quietly under the night sky. Paths remain empty. No footsteps echo. The fields stretch unseen but not unknown. They will be there in the morning, unchanged. This certainty allows the mind to relax fully. The sounds of night are few and familiar. A distant animal shifts. Wood creaks softly as temperatures change. Wind moves gently through trees, never sudden, never sharp. These sounds do not alert or disturb. They confirm that the world is continuing quietly. The absence of surprise is what makes these nights feel safe. Nothing dramatic is expected to happen. The darkness does not hide danger. It simply covers the land until morning. People do not lie awake imagining threats. There is no flood of information, no distant news, no unknown events reaching into the night. The world feels contained within the village, and that containment brings peace. As sleep deepens, the body settles completely. Breathing becomes slow and steady. The weight of blankets presses gently, creating a sense of grounding. The mind lets go without effort. Some wake briefly during the night, turning over, adjusting position, then drifting back into rest. These moments are calm and unremarkable. There is no anxiety about wakefulness. Sleep returns naturally. Time passes unnoticed. There is no awareness of hours. The night exists as a single, continuous space, holding everyone equally. Darkness does not divide the night into parts. It remains whole. The moon, if visible, moves slowly across the sky, its light faint and distant. Stars remain steady. The sky does not demand attention. It simply exists above the village, silent and vast. Inside cottages, the fire settles into embers. Warmth remains trapped within walls and blankets. Nothing needs adjusting. The night has been prepared for. This sense of safety comes not from strength or defense, but from predictability. The village has lived this night before, many times, and it knows what will happen next. Morning will come. Light will return. Work will follow. Because of this knowledge, sleep feels complete. The body does not stay alert. The mind does not wander far. Everything rests together. The night continues without interruption. Darkness remains gentle. Silence stays comfortable. Nothing pulls attention away. And as these familiar nights pass quietly over the medieval village, they provide a deep and steady rest, wrapping each home in the comfort of routine, allowing everyone to sleep without fear, without effort, and without thought, held safely until the light of morning returns once more.